You see, when there is a pure game of imagination, then see, the point is just like, you see, random movements of hands and legs is not called as dance. No, dance is an art, is it not? And it has to be learned. No. So how do we learn it? Just follow. So when one goes very deep into the absorption of what is called as acceptable and what is called as, no, uh, what is called as, an elegant move, then after soaking into, learning, one may himself be able to create an elegant move in a dance. Is it? An elegant composition of, music. Is it not? But any random stunt is not dance. Is it not? Otherwise, what is the difference between a dance and a fight? Both are movements of hands and legs. Is it not? Then fighting also person moving hands and legs. Is it? So, so the point is, without accepting, there is no academics. Is it not? There is no academics. So one is simply cheating himself. One is simply cheating himself. Nothing else. One is simply cheating himself. So accepting means following. Following means experimenting. It's as simple as that. Unless you experiment, how are you going to get to know about it? Is it? Right. Okay, so you're saying that, okay, you in religion you can only question up to a certain extent. Hmm. Every field of academics has its own ways and methodologies which are very rigid. And if you get out of it, you don't get any publication in that field. You don't get any advancement in that field. You know? So anything, the point is, every field of knowledge has that aspect. So because any field of science can only be measured and perceived by a specific instrument, and if you give up that instrument, you have zero understanding of what's happening there. Like nanophysics, quantum physics, you can only perceive if you have microscopy in place. If you do not accept microscopy and use microscopy, you cannot perceive what's happening. So we say, why are we limiting ourselves to the microscope? Why it is not limiting, that is what is elevating you to the higher dimension, which you don't have any access to. That's the point. So if we say, okay, why I have to see everything from the perspective of one book Gita, one book Bhagwatam, because that is the microscope which can help you see. Otherwise, you are completely blind. Otherwise, you are completely blind. You know. So if a laser is not working, if the microscope is not working, no physicist can do anything about it. No experiment happens. It just doesn't happen. Because unless we have that, like so many experiments are dependent on lasers. All these light matter interaction experiments are dependent on lasers. Now, if your laser is not working, what are you going to do? Even if you're a Nobel laureate, you cannot do anything. You have to wait till your laser starts working. Sometimes there is just humidity. The laser doesn't work because there is humidity. So what one has to do? Even if you are Nobel laureate, you cannot do anything. You have to wait till humidity gets over, the laser starts working, then you can get some readings, and then you can use your Nobel laureate brain about it. Why that reading is coming? What should be the next experiment? So why limiting only to laser? Why limiting only to microscope? It's not. So that limiting is giving us access. No, it's giving us access to the higher dimensional plane. So that's the way of life, is it not? That is the way of life. You know? People keep sitting in an airplane. Why limit yourself to that few dimensional airplane? Jump out. You know, jump out. No, why be academic? Jump out. Be free. Be academic. You know? So that freedom is going to lead to a crash. It's as simple as that. Somebody says, no, I want to experience it. Experience. All the best. Like one time somebody said to Prabhupada, no, that what's the problem being a dog? You know? Prabhupada said, all the best. You have my blessings for that. You know? So this is as good as saying somebody is saying, okay, what's the problem in eating poison? What's the problem in eating stool? I mean, all the best, no problem. You know, it's not a problem for me. You know, go ahead and experience. Is it not? But little bit intelligence and common sense one applies. One can understand the problem. Is it not? It's owing to when one is completely lost in stubbornness and arrogance, and he's not able to understand and anything. You know, then only a person goes to such a state of delirium. Is it not? So we have to understand, uh, that we take. So every science is like that. Every science is like that. No, people do computer no calculations on computers. Why limit yourself? It's a small body machine, like that. Be unlimited. No, go in a field and do calculations. Yeah, buffaloes are also going there. You also go there, do calculations on the side of the field. Like that. So it's not limiting, it's upgradation. Is it not? It's channelizing. Is it not? It's elevating. So therefore, before uh, 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 so therefore, actually, you see, the whole point is that along with concepts, a person should also learn application of those concepts. Again, otherwise, the head is too big, and the person doesn't know applying. So, what is limiting? What is elevating? That is the first difference one needs to know. Is it not? What is limiting? What is elevating? Is it not? Uh, this is important. Why limit yourself to IITs? You know, is it not? You open your own institute, put a teen shed, and sit down under that. Or why put a teen shed also? Be unlimited. No. So got the point, right? These are all jargons of of complete bewilderment, nothing else. So one has to apply a little bit of common sense. Is it not? Where in life one is not following that? Is it not? So it's full crash actually. Why limiting? If you don't limit, you cannot measure. Is it not? That's the point. No. Yeah, so you can see that why limiting, why limiting to a partner, so then person becomes person and animal, you know. But when he gets a health problem, then he will limit himself to a doctor. No, 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 whatever you say. Then why limiting? Then try the unlimited, no? Then try the unlimited. So, so this is quite a blind jargon, or this is coming from a complete state of delirium. The first thing one has to understand. Therefore, what is knowledge? What is vidya? What is avidya? This is the first percent of knowledge. First thing is to identify. This is a school, this is a beer bar. If that identification is only not clear, then everything else, where is the meaning to everything else? Is it not? You have to understand, okay, this is a school, this is where I have to go and sit, this is a beer bar, you know. That differentiation, avidya, vidya, there is only no differentiation between that. Then any further, like in the first step of proof, you are going wrong. Then what is the use of writing, pages after pages after that? Is it not? It's all wrong. Is it not? This is the point. So limiting versus elevating. That's the point.
By our material academia, we can't achieve anything. That's why it's a transcendental science. And the common practical application, we see the person dying in front of our eyes. लगा लो academia, दिख रहा है ना मर गया, चलो नहीं कर. And regarding leap of faith, correct. Eating a different restaurant in every place, there also you are eating out of faith. And you have paid for it. तो घर में खाने में तुमको faith दिखानी है.
Yes. So the faithless are completely blind. And those who have faith, they are the actual seers of academia. They are the actual proponents of a scientific attitude, because they have the guts to to accept and to experiment, to see for themselves the efficacy, and to demonstrate to the whole world. So that is the point. And those who have no faith, the faithless, they are completely blind. They have locked themselves into four walls of darkness, and they are going to die in that. But one who has faith, he is ready to try out an alternative, to experiment with it. That is exactly what is called a scientific attitude, right? Or academic spirit. Is it not? So, yes. So that's what we have to understand. So faith is a scientific concept. If you don't have faith, then you're completely blind. Is it not? But if you have faith, then you take a step and experiment and explore, and then you can find, beyond the limitations. Then you can go beyond the limitations. Is it not? So that principle is there, right? Okay. Yes, that's why Bhagavad Gita is said, Sanchayatma Vinashyati. So doubt is healthy when doubt is only for some time. If the doubt is all the time, then doubt is very problematic. No. So okay, if suppose one is choosing a marriage partner, initially one can doubt, okay, maybe this person, is he saying really what he's saying? Is everything okay? Is his family okay? You go and check with the neighbors, colleagues, everything. No? After doing 6 months, 1 year evaluation and all that, you decide to marry. Now after 20 years of marriage, also doubting, is this fellow okay or not? No? The poor fellow will cannot even breathe then, is it not? Yeah, so I mean, you got the point, no? 20 years of marriage, this fellow is 45, the one is 45, one is 40, they are doubting at each other, Their teeth are about to come out, hairs have gone, Be peaceful, is it not? So one should not doubt all the time, is it not? That's the point, right? One should not doubt all the time. Uh, so doubt is a tool, one has to know where to use it, where not to use it. Is it not? You know, like there is a knife, there is a spoon. But both of them have a specific utility. You cannot use it all the time. Huh? So so the problem, see, that is the problem with modern day. They load with so much of no, they actually intoxicate themselves into so small corner of the reality that they forget a holistic sense of what is reality all about ultimately. Is it not? And they are completely lost into some small corner which has no meaning to even their lives. That's the problem. Is it not? Okay, text 18, I think, right? Yeah. Sprishantam padayo premna व्रीदितं स्वेन कर्मणा शता क्रतुं परिस्वज्य विद्वेषां विषसर्जः. As King Indra was standing by, he became ashamed of his own activities and fell down before King Prithu to touch his lotus feet. But Prithu Maharaj immediately embraced him in great ecstasy and gave up all envy against him for his having stolen the horse meant for the sacrifice. There are many cases in which a person becomes an offender at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava and later becomes repentant. Here also we find that although the king of heaven, Indra, was so powerful that he accompanied Lord Vishnu, he felt himself a great offender for stealing Prithu Maharaj's horse that was meant for sacrifice. An offender at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is never excused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many instances illustrating this fact. Ambarish Maharaj was offended by Durvas Muni, a great sage and mystic yogi, and Durvas also had to fall down at the lotus feet of Ambarish Maharaj. Indra decided to fall down at the lotus feet of King Prithu, but the king was so magnanimous, a Vaishnava, that he did not want Maharaj Indra to fall down at his feet. Instead, King Prithu immediately picked him up and embraced him, and both of them forgot all the past incidents. Both King Indra and Maharaj Prithu were envious and angry with each other. But since both of them were Vaishnavas or servant of Lord Vishnu, it was their duty to adjust the cause of their envy. This is also a first class example of cooperative behavior between Vaishnavas. In the present days, however, because people are not Vaishnavas, they fight perpetually among one another and are vanquished without finishing the mission of human life. There is a great need to propagate the Krishna consciousness movement in the world so that even though people sometimes become angry and malicious towards one another because of their being Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious, such rivalry, competition, and envy can be adjusted without difficulty. So this is very beautiful. So you see, Lord Vishnu's decision worked out wonderful. Satna. Prithu Maharaj is getting so, or rather, you can say Lord no, Brahma. Lord Brahma's decision worked out very wonderful. So here was Brahmaji. He came and he chose Prithu Maharaj, as the person who should make the sacrifice. And he told Prithu Maharaj, "You better step back." He didn't tell anything to Indra. He told to Prithu Maharaj. The result of that, you see. So now we can. The result of that we can see. It's auspicious for everyone. So even Indra got purified. Is it? So here you see Maharaj Indra. It was a big folly on his part, but now on his own, Prabhupada is giving the example of Durvasa Muni offending Amrish Maharaj, but Durvasa Muni on his own, he didn't came voluntarily, seeking forgiveness. Is it not? Durvasa Muni did, went everywhere. Is it not? When the, he went all over the universe to escape from, the fallashruti of the offense. The fallashruti of the offense was chakra. Is it not? Sudarshan chakra. So to flee away from Sudarshan chakra, he went all over the universe. And not finding any recluse anywhere in the universe, he came back to Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu also rejected. He said, nothing doing. I do not have the capacity to rectify it. And therefore he fell down. Is it not? At the lotus feet of Amrish Maharaj. But here we see Maharaj Indra on his own, just by observing. Is it not? So basically, just by observing here. So therefore, Brahmaji's decision, although it may appear little harsh on part of Brahmaji, at a Prithu was doing welfare, he, you know, so Prithu was a good boy, he got a slap, poor fellow. Is it not? You may say like that, no? The rowdy boy was the Indra boy, like that. Is it? Prithu was a good boy, but poor fellow Prithu, he got the slap. Is it not? So you may think like that, but you see, the efficacy of Brahmaji's decision is coming right through. Is it not? So Prithu Maharaj followed, and the world got such a beautiful glimpse, demonstration of Vaishnava principles, which were exhibited by Prithu Maharaj. Even Indra got moved by that. You see, by seeing the beautiful Vaishnava behavior and qualities of Prithu Maharaj, even Indra got moved and transformed. So he's feeling embarrassed. So he's seeking forgiveness, like that. So beautiful, is it not? This is so beautiful. Therefore, uh, in following instructions of the Lord, the Acharyas, there is no loss, ever. Calculations and predictions may or may not work, is it not? Calculations and predictions may or may not work, is it not? And this is where we see what happens when we put faith, is it not? It's easy to say, okay, I don't put any faith. Okay, if you don't put any faith, nothing is going to happen. Whatever it is, things are going to be worse than what it is it not? I don't put any faith. What will happen? Nothing will happen, is it not? Because you're not putting any faith. So where is the question of transformation? But those who are brave, those who have guts, those who put faith, what is going to happen? Is what is happening now. No. The envious are transformed into the favorable. Is it not? It's the power of faith. Maharaj Prithu put faith in the words of Brahmaji. The words of Brahmaji were completely illogical. For the sake of one spoiled and pampered, arrogant fellow, or you can say spoiled and pampered, arrogant fool, Brahmaji was deciding to, to create turmoil and unrest in the entire humanity. Logical? Completely illogical. Is it not? Or we can say, okay, who was Indra? After all, a spoiled and pampered, arrogant fool, nothing else. But been intoxicated by his wealth and opulence. Is it not? And for his sake, the entire humanity's welfare was put at stake. Is it not? What put at stake? The entire humanity's welfare was put aside. Is it not? But Prithu Maharaj said, okay, so be it. It was illogical, completely illogical. So Prithu Maharaj knew the formula for one level of benefit. Brahmaji gave a clue for a greater benefit. Prithu Maharaj as a scientist accepted that clue. Greater benefit is coming. We can say, what is the greater benefit? The humanity got as much benefit as they were supposed to get. And, and even Indra got benefit. A greater benefit, no? Like that. And we are getting benefit. Like that. That way. So, yeah. So therefore, actually, why we sometimes think of a narrower benefit. When we follow instructions, then the benefit becomes broad. Sometimes we just think of our own benefit, okay, or a limited benefit. Uh, yeah. So sometimes, person becomes conscious of his own benefit, the devotee. That okay, if I follow the material trajectory, at least I can have a peaceful life. No, no, I will have food and clothing, shelter, security, everything. But the spiritual life, no guarantee. ये बहुत ही, it looks quite. Uh, so spiritual life, what benefit we get materially, we get. But in addition to that, the whole world can also benefit. That's the beauty of spiritual life, is it? So, so what is the testimony of faith? This is the testimony of faith. And if we have faith, we can see an overwhelming transformation. Amazing, right? No faith, no transformation. And then Prabhupada is concluding so beautifully in this purport. Prabhupada is saying that you see the point is that yes, there was anger, and that anger created enmity or envy between both the warring parties, Indra Maharaj and Prithu Maharaj. But then, because both of them are devotees, no, uh, because both of them are devotees, then they put aside their envy, is it? And cooperated. Beautiful example, is it? Properly said. Such a beautiful example. So we keep Krishna consciousness in between, all envy gets fumed away. Is it? No. So, so in that spirit, all envy gets fumed away, is it not? So this is the point. And therefore, Prithu Maharaj is unhesitatingly and spontaneously embracing Indra, Maharaj Indra. Is it that okay? Because you see, Maharaj Indra, why is embracing Maharaj Indra? He was an offender, he did wrong, he was against the welfare of the. So Maharaj Indra got little bewildered. But now, so anyways, what he was insecure was his kingdom. And he uses his kingdom to serve God. Is it not? He uses his position to serve God. That's why there was no point in unnecessarily uh, harboring that envy for a long period of time. Because now what is Indra going to do after this episode? He's going to go back to his kingdom and serve Krishna. What else he'll do? Is it not? Right? He's a devotee. So therefore, what was the point in harboring the envy? Is it not? So when we see that a devotee is in a disposition of service to Krishna, we should forget and settle all the scores. Why to maintain the scores? Is it? Then what is the point? Why to similarly, why to unnecessarily maintain the scores? That's a point which we have to understand. Bhagavan Ata Vishwatma Prituno Pahartarhanaha Samujhanaya Bhaktya Grihita Charanambhuja. King Prithu abundantly worshipped the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God, who was so merciful to him. While worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Prithu Maharaj gradually increased his ecstasy in devotional service. When various ecstasies appear in the body of a devotee, it is to be understood that his devotional service has become perfect. There are many types of transcendental ecstasies in the form of crying, laughing, perspiring, falling down, crying like a madman. All these symptoms are sometimes visible in the body of a devotee. They are called as Ashta Sattvika Vikar, which means 8 kinds of transcendental transformation. They are never to be imitated, but when a devotee actually becomes perfect, these symptoms are visible on his body. The Lord is Bhakta Vatsal, which means that he is inclined towards his pure devotee, Vatsal. Therefore, the transcendental ecstatic transaction between the Supreme Lord and his devotee is never like the activities of this material body. So these transcendental ecstasies appear sometime. Sometime. So in general, a devotee will never exhibit them. Rather, in a public gathering, public forum, a devotee will be very conscious. But one who is all the time there with a genuine devotee may sometimes see, that is where it comes. Sometimes, mm, sometimes one may see such symptoms, like that. Like those who have a very close association of great acharyas may sometimes see, sometimes. But in general, a devotee will be very conscious, not to exhibit any such symptom like that. Sometimes it, because the whole thing is that they are that spiritual substance is, sometimes it overpours, like that. So that's how it is. But imitation is very cheap, isn't it? Artificial and cheap. Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll continue again. The beautiful. So Lord Vishnu is so pleased. Mm. And Lord Vishnu is explaining why he's so pleased. Why he's explaining? So that everyone can learn a lesson. Is it not? So everyone can learn a lesson. Why he's so pleased? What is so pleasing in Prithu Maharaj? You know? What was so that we all can learn a lesson. And this is so beautiful. Is it not? This is so beautiful. Yeah. Uh, uh, so as Prithu Maharaj is getting these amazing blessings, and uh, we'll see more of this. Uh, in the, as a pastime, unfolds further. Hare Krishna. Granthara Srimad Bhagwatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai.